Professor Ndubuisi Ekekwe invented and patented a robotic system, which the United States government acquired assignee rights. He holds 2 doctoral degrees, and he also has 4 master's degrees. That's incredible. Including one of the PhDs in engineering from the Johns Hopkins University, USA. He earned an undergraduate degree from the Federal University of Technology, our prestigious FUTO in Nigeria. And he graduated as the best in his time. He worked with Analog Device Corporation, and while he was there, he co-designed the accelerometer that is used in iPhone. So he is also a recipient of Agile Global Book of the Year Award, a TED Fellow, IBM Global Entrepreneur, and World Economic Forum Young Global Leader. Professor Ekekwe has held professorship in Carnegie Mellon University and Babcock University, and has served in the United States National Science Foundation Committee. Since 2009, he has been the founder of TechDear Capital and chairman, Fast Micro, Intel Corp's only African certified and authorized programmable microprocessor partner. And he has been writing in the Harvard Business Review. Those of you who know how difficult it is to publish in that Harvard Business Review. He was recognized by The Guardian as one of the 60 Nigerians making the Nigerian lives matter on the Nigerian 60th Independence Day. Prestigiously, we have the opportunity to host Professor Ekekwe today to talk to us on how we can educate the engineers of nations. Professor Ekekwe, the platform is yours.
Thank you so much. And please, if it's possible, could you give me access to share my slide? I think it's restricted at the moment.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, so, oh, great, awesome. Okay, so thank you so much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. That was a very big introduction for a village boy. So thank you for your generosity and your kindness. So today I'll have these special moments to come here to have a conversation with you in a topic of titled Educating the Engineers of Nations. So looking at how do we really educate engineers of nations, but I'm going to look at it from a different angle, not necessarily going through the liturgy of do we go through universities, do we go through polytechnics, but I want to focus from the angle of the market system. That if we can look through the angle of the market system, then the propensity for us to actually get engineers to rise to transform their nations will not become possible. And to do that, I just show you the world map. And this world map, there are very beautiful things that you can see. It's a very, very beautiful, colorful map. There are possibilities, opportunities, and there are also frictions and challenges. There are challenges that in some parts of the world, we don't have food for little boys and girls to eat today. There are also some parts of the world, mothers still die during childbirth. There are also frictions of inadequacy in electricity and clean water. There are frictions everywhere. But it turns out that the world of frictions and the world of problems, the world of paralysis are also areas and domains that we can also find opportunities. And the question now becomes, if these opportunities are there, even though they are latent, how do we now turn them into opportunities? The frictions in nations are opportunities that we have in nations. And how do you now translate those challenges into the opportunities to the market system? And that is where we begin the whole constructs of engineering. Because today, it's not just the old engineering of mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, biological. We are talking about financial engineering. We're talking about all kinds of niches of engineering, because the whole elemental construct of engineering is actually making something that at the end of the day, that thing solves a market friction or any kind of friction, depending on the specific specialty. So the world needs to engineer here, turning these challenges and are fixing them to provide opportunities for citizens. And across human history, there's so many things that have happened. It was a time that a very brilliant man in Europe called Adam Smith wrote one of the finest books ever written in the world of economics. He wrote The Wealth of Nations, where he basically explained the whole construct of invisible hands. How do you build a strong engineering system without really looking at the policies, the structures that actually power that engineering system? You know, most times you think that, oh, an engineer in Nigeria can execute something just like an engineer in Germany. That's not necessarily true. They could be very great engineers technically, but the environment they work can actually have a lot of perturbations on how efficient they can be in that work. So what Adam Smith was saying here, that if market systems can operate within a mercantilistic economic system, where demand and supply can actually work, not necessarily domiciled and determined by the state, that beautiful things can happen. In other words, you are an engineer in Owerri, and you have a project you want to execute. That if the government of Imo State is not necessarily trying to cause so many problems for you, you have higher chance of actually executing that. Saying that if you are starting off a business, you're starting off a company, you're trying to solve this, one of these frictions, that if the state can just get away where necessary, allowing the free enterprise to actually drive how that problem will be solved, that the chance of solving that problem is actually higher. So this is very, very important, even as we are thinking about how to educate engineers, because the most important element in the engineering practice is not just having that technical capacity. Yeah, we can all be great engineers trained in Unilag, OAU, ABU, FUTO, but at the point, at the end, we still have to work in a society where if that society does not offer us an enable environment, we cannot be great engineers. So that means that the conversation now moves, how can you educate engineers that will also operate within an environment where engineers can do what they do very best? So Adam Smith made that point, that the invisible hand must be very, very necessary. That means where government does not need to come, government has to get out, so that the translation of those frictions in the market into opportunities can happen. So many, that Smith just said that. There's also a very brilliant man called Pythagoras. And Pythagoras made a very great point, which is one of the most fascinating moments. Pythagoras said something that was so powerful. And what he said was this, that many, many centuries when the Greek philosophers were trying to understand the elemental constructs of the universe. What is our world made of? What is the world made of? Pythagoras made a point. He said that the world is nothing but numbers. And if the world is nothing but numbers, the implication is that everything that we do on earth is nothing but numbers. And that means that the business of medicine, the business of engineering, everything that we do is numbers. So what that means here is that as we begin to educate engineers, the question here is that how is that engineering anchored on that philosophical construct that everything we do is nothing but numbers? I'm going to go into that to explain it, because what that means here is that if you're a business person, if you understand the numbers around your business, you are actually going to become a better business person. If you are a banker, if you understand the business around banking, the numbers around banking, you are going to become a better banker. So in other words, Pythagoras said that everything that we have ever done and everything that we are doing on this earth, we are just doing one thing. We are trying to understand, compute, manipulate, process numbers so that at the end of the day, we can understand the universe. Now, if that is the centerpiece of everything, the question is, how do we build better businesses to go and fix those frictions which we have in the world? And then building better businesses become very, very critical and very fundamental, because the process of demand and supply have to come, and then the demand and supply, we have to find a way to create market system. And you have the frictions in the markets, and you need to have the capabilities. The capabilities are where the engineers have to now play a very significant role. You know, I'm defining engineering here not within the construct of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, because in Wall Street, they have financial engineers. So that means that the broad understanding of engineers also widened. And that's the implication here, is that people that can actually get things done. So how can we get things done when, how many times have we been writing that we don't have electricity in Nigeria? It's decades now, but this was a problem they have solved more than a century in Europe. Does it mean that we don't have engineers? Does it mean that we don't have the technical capacity? So educating the engineers of nations for the future cannot just be catered within the whole construct of technical capacity, because that technical capacity most times does not really get us to understand the connection within the market system. What are the frictions in the market? The frictions are many. I don't have clean water to drink. I don't have electricity for my house to power whatever I need in the house. And then how do I provide those services? And it goes back to something that is fundamental, that markets are imperfect in nature. And if markets are imperfect in nature, engineers who want to become business people to actually go into the market to solve problems must understand the fundamental element of market system. And I explain it in a very simple way here. If we assume there is no company in the world, let's assume there is no business in Nigeria. The only option available is for demand to identify and discover supply, and for supply to identify and discover demand. Unfortunately, such things are not going to be very, very effective, because there is just going to be high level of unproductivity. So what happens? Businesses are needed. And then when businesses come, they begin to deliver services that can now make it possible for demand and supply to come into a near equilibrium point. So I give you a very great example here. Just say that Ndubuisi lands in Lagos and I'm hungry and there is no restaurant in the city of Lagos because there is no business in the world. Ndubuisi has just very limited option to knock at every door in Lagos looking for somebody who has food to sell. But if I knock on the first door, knock on the second door, knock on the third door, I may not find somebody who has food to sell. But at the same time, there is a family that has food, but unfortunately, I cannot knock on their door. I couldn't knock on their door. They are hoping that I discover them, and I'm also hoping that I discover them. So what happens? A young lady says, I'm going to start up a business, and that business is, let's say, Mama Kemi's restaurant. No, next time Ndubuisi is hungry, Ndubuisi goes to that restaurant, and that restaurant now will serve me Oriko and all the good stuff I pay. That is also what we do in engineering. We see market frictions, and we need to have the capacity to go into the market to fix those frictions. But the problem, unlike that young lady that saw that Ndubuisi could not find a place to get food, she started a restaurant business so that next time Ndubuisi is hungry, Ndubuisi goes to that restaurant. In Nigeria, we've not been very lucky. What is happening here is that in my village, there is no clean water. And we have all graduates, everyone is just comfortable. We write about it in Guardian newspaper, and the next day, we write about it. Next year, we write about it, and nothing has changed. So the question is, why is the market system not working? And does it mean that there is so many things, other things that we have to consider? And that has to come to that element of capability. And that element of capability goes back to how are the numbers going to actually impart what we do, just like Pythagoras postulated centuries ago, that everything in the universe is nothing but numbers. And if you look at it very, very well, the concatenation of Adam Smith's invisible hand, that Nigeria, using Nigeria as a case study, that the pursuit of self-interest and the freedom of production and consumption, the best interest of society as a whole are fulfilled. So an engineer needs to have that platform where that engineer can actually go into the market system and pursue this thing. It's a very, very productive grid. You want to go and solve the problem of electricity in Osun State. And if you can fix that problem of electricity in Osun State, the society will reward you. But how are you going to engineer, or how are you going to educate young people that can now say, hey, I have the technical capacity as electrical engineers, but I also need the other capacity so that I can actually go into the markets and fix market friction. Because it's not just going to end that, hey, I can be a very good technical engineer. The question now here is, how can I also go into the market and fix those frictions, which are very, very critical. And then as you're looking at that invisible hand, you look at the power of numbers, that without numbers, nothing can really work in our society. So the fusion of these things are actually where the world has changed and where nations have been left behind. And I show you the GDP of nations over the last 2,000 years. I have used the GDP of China. I've used the GDP of the United States because these are the two dominant economies today. If you combine the gross world product of nations, in other words, the concatenation of the GDPs of nations, you realize that before about 1,500 years, just from here to here, the GDPs of nations, GDPs were flat. And if you look at it, if the GDP of the United States or the GDP of China, if that GDP was flat, the implication is that the world was going through a state of absolute generational poverty. And absolute generational poverty here is talking about that the people who lived here were poorer than people who lived here, were poorer than people who lived here, because population was increasing when economic opportunity was flat. And if the population was increasing when economic opportunity was flat, the implication is that per capita income will decelerate. When per capita income decelerates, that means that human standard drops. So if the GDP did not move over 100 years, the population has increased, each person is sharing a smaller portion of whatever was available. And that was what was happening all over the world. And that was the translate the capacity opportunity that was going on. But check here. America got itself out of that paralysis. And just recently, China got itself out of this paralysis. If you look at the shape of the United Kingdom and the broad Europe, they actually started that translation a little bit earlier than the United States. The United States caught off faster around 1896 or thereabouts, and they overtook the European as a continent. So what happened? How were they able to engineer a translation like this? And that is the most fundamental element of engineering. And that is also where, when we are looking at educating the engineers of the future, it's not just looking at how can we understand electrons and photons and how do we do thermodynamics. It's now understanding how can we actually engineer the restoration of economic architectures of nations so that shared prosperity can come in communities. A man called Reverend Mathers, if you studied agriculture in secondary school, or maybe possibly a biology class in secondary school, I've read about his postulation that food production was going in arithmetic progression while human population was growing in geometric progression. What he was saying is that man was going to run out of food because, unfortunately, that we were not growing economically very fast. I agree with you that if we check it over the last few years, Nigeria has also been stuck here, and the broad Africa is still here. I have called this the invention society era. It's an era where there were so many ideas in the nations, but there were limited capacity to turn those ideas into products and services. Just like if you enter Molue right now in Lagos, people will tell you how to fix electricity problem in Nigeria. People will tell you how to fix the forest problems in Nigeria. There are so many ideas, but now give them the opportunities nothing will happen. So the question here is this: when you are stuck here as an invention society, you actually cannot improve the well-being of your people, because educating the engineers of nations has one primary purpose, which is to advance living standard and shared prosperity of people. The people who lived here were the pioneers in physics and chemistry. They brought up a deeper understanding of mathematics, the science of numbers. They help us to understand physics, their relationship with matter. They help us to understand the compounds. But when tuberculosis, polio came, all of them died. They were inventive, but they were not innovative. But when this generation came, they became innovators. And what is this thing called innovation? It's a translation of ideas into products and services. And that is the reason why our nation, Nigeria, is still an inventive society. We have so many ideas as graduates of engineering from all the top universities, but once you get into Nigeria, you're an inventor. Because that ability to transition to innovation remains where we have problems. So the problem is not teaching us engineering from the philosophical angle of mastery of science and technology. Rather, it's actually a level trying to see how we can leave that element of invention into the face of innovation. And how do you do these things? It comes down to so many important pillars. And those important pillars must be like a musical orchestra. You know, when you go to the orchestra, it's a very beautiful experience. And all the musical instruments must work in sync for you to have a very great experience. The knowledge of a people is the wealth of a people. And when knowledge cannot drive what people do, unfortunately, they cannot advance. So when you look at this market system here, I noted here that to fix out frictions, you need capabilities. And these are the components of those capabilities. The knowledge, the engineering knowledge of a nation, the entrepreneurial engineering spirit of capitalism. It's not just training the young man that he's a very good guy in thermodynamics. The question is, how does he translate the thermodynamics capabilities into fixing frictions which are before him and his own community? The capital, which is now possible, mismatch is possible for those things you do not have for you to acquire them. And the labor. I know of companies that cannot start some factories in Nigeria because they don't have the labor, the manpower to power such factories. Many years ago, I had this special privilege. We signed this document that Raw Material Research and Development Council, one of the agencies in Nigeria, they came to us because my company works with Intel, and we did so many things in Rwanda and other places, so they came. So I said, if you want to build a microelectronics foundry in Nigeria, the question is, where do you find the labor force? Where do you find the young people that will power it? So if you want to also establish a clean room or a foundry in Nigeria, there are many chemicals which are required in etching, oxidation, photolithography, and all those processes, those crisis methods that you need in the microelectronics industry, semiconductor space. Those chemicals, do you have a chemical industry that can actually provide them? So if you need to import 20 chemicals in different drums, and then you come to Nigeria and assemble, it's even better just go and buy the finished product from China, because there is no way you could do that and be competitive. So in other words, the fundamental things which are also very, very critical to power some elements of engineering in our nation, besides going to universities where we have these courses, the industrial capacity, so we have not built them. And if we do not have that industrial capacity, the most important part of education will not happen, because what really happens in university is a preparation for you to go into the markets and now begin to actually be educated on the real engineering. That one is the innovation engineering, not the invention engineering, because the invention engineering is what you get at university. The innovation engineering is now where you are educated to use those fundamental ideas you have to now fix and solve problems which can actually overcome frictions that people have in their lives and their communities. The triple helix of people, the processes and tools, encapsulated with technology vistas of innovation are going to be very, very critical in how we advance. And if you look back here, I take you back to those numbers, just like Pythagoras noted many centuries, that if we are looking at that's what we call data today. But you see that the world itself has been fused with numbers. And our profession and our field of engineering has been doing nothing but helping the world make sense of numbers. Because if the world is numbers and everything in the universe is nothing but numbers, you will agree with me that anyone who makes sense of numbers will do well and will have a competitive advantage. So if that is the case, it means that building systems, building capabilities to actually make sense of numbers becomes something of value. From the time of slide rule to the time of abacus, to the time of difference engine, to ENIAC, to the time that Shockley invented transistor in 1937 from von Neumann architecture, to the time Robert Noyce and Charles Kibbe of Tesla system invented integrated circuit. The world has just been trying to make sense of one. How do we make sense of the numbers around us? And when we make sense of the numbers, and we have the tools to bring the invisible hand, many beautiful things begin to happen at site. And of course, there are now new dimensions of actually how you can scale that experience through cloud computing, computational systems. At the end of the day, we have the ChatGPT and AI. But those ones are things I have called the accelerated society era, because they're actually going to bring a new age, a new world beyond the innovation society, which unfortunately in our beautiful part of the world, we've not even gotten to. If you take your time and look around, you see that transformations happen in societies. And in Africa, we have many of those. And you could see that to a large extent, engineering powers these transformations. The new generation banks in Nigeria in the 1990s, they were anchored on technology innovation. And technologies happen because engineering does happen. There is no way Diamond Bank integrated banking system, which was one of the foremost products, which made it possible that if you have your bank accounts in one branch of Diamond Bank, if you now go to another bank, another branch, you can also operate the same. Before then, if you travel from Kano to Lagos and you run out of cash, you have to go back to the same branch in Kano to get your money. But Diamond Bank DIDS said, no, it wasn't necessary. Provided you can see another branch of Diamond Bank in Lagos, whether you had an original one in Kano is irrelevant. Technology brought that transformation. They now had a fusion where all the branches were entwined and interdependent interrelationship with. So we had a new age, a new great decade of massive economic opportunity. Banks were hiring in big malls, big halls, even in some stadiums, because they were in a Cambrian moment in the banking sector. And in 2000s, we also saw another engineering evolution when voice telephony came, when MTN and Econet came. They came with a new phase of technology, and that is also powered because of engineering. And when they now did what they did, beautiful things happened. People now started, hello, can I speak with you? How are you listening? Are you hearing me? Beautiful. And now, later on, they now added data, turning our phones into band branches, turning our phone into musical halls, and now changing the world that we live. We are now moving into the age of application 3D era, where every sector is going to be changed. But the question here is this: when you now say, who are those and how do we educate that these applications are not just going to be powered by consumerism within Africa? Because, I mean, if you go to your village, I don't know, you still see that a lot of people just need clean drinking water. A lot of people can't get an hour of electricity. There's just so many things that cannot happen. So despite the exuberance in Lagos and Abuja and Port Harcourt, using Nigeria as a case study, many parts of the country, they are still left behind. So how do we now have a new transformation powered by engineering knowledge that we have So that, I mean, Lagos is fine, Abuja is fine, Port Harcourt is fine, but we still need rural communities to actually advance. And then we're looking at how do we improve that education? How do we improve that real estate? How do we improve that? And there's so many things that if we have that innovation education, many, many great things will happen. And I say it here, gentlemen and ladies, that the biggest innovation that will happen in Nigeria is the rural economy being brought into the 21st century standard. I mean, you got a big mansion in the village, you have your big house in the village, acres of land, hectares of land owned by your family or your ancestors. But if you go into the balance sheet of Nigeria, those things do not exist. How do we engineer that kind of wealth into the balance sheet of Nigeria? How can you say, I inherited 100 hectares of land, and yet the same man that has 100 hectares of land, somebody is saying he's poor? Because we have not engineered a mechanism which, as early as 13th century, they have taken care of that in United Kingdom. They brought in this property right system that piece of land enters into your asset base, that you can take it to the bank and say, see, I have 100 hectares. The bank say, you are really, really rich. What do you need? I say, hey, my son is going to school. I need to take a small loan. And they know that. But today, the man who has hectares of land in Oshobo goes to the bank, as far as the bank is concerned, nothing, because that is rural. So how do we drive that engineering? So, and changing the way we think about these things will be very, very important in actually advancing our economic prosperity. I tell you this because the Nigerian government say that it wants to get our economy up to 3 trillion by 2030. I mean, I'm a very big believer that it's actually possible, because about 70% of Nigeria's economy or people are now contributing a lot because we're not giving them the opportunity. People in the rural areas, what do they really do? Everyone is a farmer, but people are still poor. They can't even find food to eat. So how do you have farmers to eat food in a community of farmers? What that means is that it is a fundamental problem in the way we as a people are educated, that we can just finish from Futo, ABU, Zaria, OAU, and we are in Lagos and Abuja, when our rural communities are still in their primitive way of agriculture. And that is the reason when they farm, the first thing you do is how to help your father, your mother, because she needs food. But she's a farmer. That has to happen. And if we do that, we can now benefit from some of the things engineers have done over human history to turn their economies. If you look at here, the people who lived here did not change the world. And of course, they built foundational technologies, foundational knowledge systems, I would say, that transformed the world. Because when they were building, when they were inventing, if you look at it here, the GDPs were not affected. The GDPs were flat. That means that what they were doing here, they were not touching here. But after a time, I call it the innovation society era, that starts changing. And something big is even happening. And I've just written in Harvard, I said that we call it acceleration society era. This is invention society era, where invention of writing, printing press, steam engine, these things. But when I move an innovation era here, where mechanization, mass production, automation, there are systems. The next one is acceleration society era. Acceleration society era is going to be where machines now become something that we had not even imagined, where these AI autonomous systems will begin to transform our world. Unfortunately for us, we are not even here yet. We are still trying to figure this here. And so the question here, in as much as you may go to the food miller, they will say, hey, we have AI course. AI course on what? AI course running on what? When we have not gotten this fundamental. So I want to see that educating the engineers of nation, we cannot just focus on the technical capacity or the technical purity of engineering. We have to now see how these things are all entwined together. And if we can, as a people, to see how that engineering will bring from invention to innovation, and of course, to the level that of this acceleration. Most importantly, connecting the rural and urban communities in Africa, because if we can fix and we can do that, beautiful things happen. Anybody that did not experience Nigerian Postal Service in his village or her village, possibly is a very, very young person. Because when I was in the village in secondary school, we had the opportunities of, write letters to people in London and call that as a decent Institute of Electrical Engineers, United Kingdom of Electrical Engineers. And those days, you just see something, you write, and hoping that somebody will respond. Even as a university undergraduate, post office was working. And because post office was working, the delta between the rural and urban was not too wide. But today, because it's broken, the rural communities are all fading. And if they are fading, you're going to have a lot of difficulties. Just showing that same plot again, that this is when you know that engineers have engineered their nations. And that means that wealth, which we can measure, economic opportunity will happen. And today, unfortunately, in Nigeria, we have so many engineers, so many invention engineers, but we do not have innovation engineers. And if that is the case, how are we now going to do that? I'll be rounding up very soon here. And as that process goes through, I also want to show you something that nations also transmute. If you go back 100 years from today in the United States stock market, you see that the largest companies in America 100 years was actually a steel company. And 50 years later, it was IBM, which was an infrastructure company. Today, knowledge companies are the leading companies in the United States. And if in the Nigerian one, our largest companies today are food companies, Nestle, Bua Food, and then infrastructure companies like Dangote Cement, MTN, Bua Cement, as well as so we are combining these two into one, and hopefully over time, we can now move into this phase. So I'm just rounding up here. So if that is the case now, what is that core element of our conversation? How do we now educate? I don't think that our problem is teaching people thermodynamics, teaching people technical drawing. I just think that Nigerian schools are really good. I mean, recall vividly many experiences. Yeah. It seems that we have so many experiences as, I don't know if I'm still audible here. Yeah, many experiences as a PhD student in the Johns Hopkins University. You could just see that our difficulties, our challenges, we were never really in any way not well prepared in Nigeria. Our challenge was purely one thing. How do we do well in that fundamental science and engineering, and also translating into solving problems? Because pick up a young boy, a young man from Unilag, or a young lady from ABU, get her in admission into Glasgow or somewhere there, Manchester, and the child is not going to drop out. He's going to do well. Now, after doing well, send him or her back to Nigeria. Nothing. You just see that over time that person will depreciate professionally. But leave him or her in Manchester or London, you see that over 5 years, 10 years, that person becomes a very thought leader. You know, I have a professor in Kenya, and the man, I was the professor of Nairobi on a program, and the man was telling me, see, I'm a professor here, but I regretted coming back to Kenya. I said, what happened? He said, you know what? I just have a title, but I don't know anything. So I don't know anything. That when I visit and go for conferences, everyone had left me behind. That, unfortunately, the problem was not the professor. Proverbs not the young man in Kanu or Owerri. The issue is, what is our innovation society? How are we educating and preparing people for that? And if we can do that, many beautiful. This will be the last slide here. And then I make this reference here. If you go to ABU Zaria, they have a very big agriculture program. I don't know if you have visited ABU recently. One of the largest, the School of Agriculture, the College of Agriculture, whatever it's called, is so massive. But walk around the gate, you see a lot of people that are just looking for food to eat. So you say, how can you have one of the largest agricultural programs in Africa, and people around you are so poor they can't even find food to eat? Everyone is largely begging. Now, that is what we have in our part of the world. And then you go to maybe other places like Polytechnic Nekede, you go, you just see how, gully erosion is even challenging that. Sometimes, in short, in my alma mater, there was a time gully erosion cut off. So how can you have such a thing? That means that both the students, both the university, both the faculty are basically saying here, we are just publishing our books, writing our journal articles, enjoying ourselves, but the real impact of engineering to the society, which is to fix these frictions, which are evident across societies, we are not imparting our societies. And if we are not imparting our societies, it means that the education we are called must necessarily evolve so that those impacts could be. There is no way you have a very big agricultural program and at least you cannot feed yourself. And there is also no read you have a very big civil engineering and yet gully erosion is taking you out. I say this, and finally, if you go to Tuskegee University in Alabama as a student, ask anybody, has one of the largest farm programs in the United States. It's so huge. In short, if you go to their farm, you actually need to take a car. So if you're a student, there is a section in their farm. If you just want to go and grow potatoes, you go and pick as much as you want. They have built this synchronized system where students work inside a farm. I studied there for master's program. When I came in the United States, I was an electrical engineering student. So my job was to make sure that all the sensors in the farm, that all the sensors were working. And as a former banker from Lagos in the IT department, it was a very good opportunity for them to pay your tuition while your job was just to make, and it was massive. And the US government now gave them another contract at that time in Scottsboro. So we have about 80 hectares of land. So Tuskegee University, you go and run it. And that is very, very powerful. So that is now engineering. And educating it is now moving into from invention to innovation. Thank you so much, gentlemen and ladies, for your audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Ekekwe, for that wonderful presentation. Education has to move to innovation. There are a couple of questions that colleagues have sent in, and if you are yet to send in your questions, could you please send it through to the chat area? Just to start with, Professor Ekekwe, there are a couple of questions which I have received, and one of them is that we are considering the quarter. This quarter is on governance and management, and then going by this wonderful presentation today, one of the questions has been, how do you see governance? How do you see governance? And then looking at where we come from, how do you see governance influencing the training of engineers to meet these type of innovation that you are talking about?
Absolutely. I think it's very, very fundamental. There is this course in Futo, I think that Engine 301, where engineering management, engineer turns manager. Every engineering student that passed through that was the first time you saw a balance sheet. Maybe they will explain to you future net worth value of asset. But it was just maybe 20% of a semester program. Then you get into 4th year and the 5th year, everything about business or society disappeared. It was now purely all about technical and engineering. But I think there in United Kingdom or Europe, when a child is going into secondary school, there is a way they have their program. That program enables them, those kids, to actually have a multifaceted exposure at a very, very early age. In our own, in your senior secondary, you have to differentiate in science or go into arts. So when you now go into science, it's likelihood that you don't know anything about economics, anything about government. So you are now prepared from that science line, you get into engineering or medicine, and that's it. Anything about how to make money, anything how to fix society, those things are no more. Then if you now stay in the arts line, you learn about commerce, government, economics, but then they don't help you to connect. So if you now look at how they have their programs in United Kingdom, Europe, you see, that's totally different. So it could be necessary to mitigate some of those gaps if young people in our engineering program, not just at the first 2 years, because that's always where they have those general studies course, but at the higher level, when these young people are already mastered the core elements of their special engineering areas, to start bringing in leadership, governance management, so that in your final years as a student studying engineering in UNN, ABU's area, you can actually take a course on engineering leadership and management, on shaping your mind that it's not just about coupling circuits or that you actually go into, in that process of coupling circuits, you're going to fix a problem in the society. And that is where that leadership and management will open up your mind and remove that veil. And if it does remove your veil, even that spirit of entrepreneurial capitalism, that there is a problem in my community, I have an opportunity to solve it. You know that no other person will solve it than you. Because our mindset today is, if there is a problem in Nigeria, just go and write it on Guardian newspaper. Once it has been published, as far as I'm concerned, I've reported a problem. Somebody has to solve it. We don't have that self-drive that this problem is for me to solve it. And until we do, we will not actually fix our challenges. And I think that's a very fundamental mindset shift that we need to have as a people. Thank you.
Okay. So maybe based on what you are saying, you are more like we should have a redesign of our present curriculum and how it is, the contents are delivered. Because in our last presentation, there was this presentation, then the colleagues from Germany, they were asking, why are we concentrating more on training more engineers than technicians here? And then that be the problem. So how about apart from redesigning the curriculum, how about the field? As in people who take this thing to the field.
Yes, that one is also an option, of course. But as you know, there are so many fundamental things which must happen before some of those things become possible. If you go to Apple today, Apple, we said, okay, I have $40 million. I want to start making iPhone in America. But the $40 million I want to train young people, I don't want to just go and start opening up a training school to train young people on factory job for making iPhone. Rather, there is a community college somewhere in Arizona, somewhere in America that I can share the $40 million so that they can work with me. I will develop the curriculum with them and they train those young people. And when they finish, I will take them. So our tax system is actually where I think Nigeria can actually use to make such things possible. The issue of spending effort developing technicians in Nigeria is really very, very good on paper. But the fact is, because of lack of opportunities in the polytechnic OND education, even if you train those young people, there are no technical jobs for them to get in. And the ones that require certificate, which is a degree, they don't have the paper. And if they don't have the paper, nobody hires them. Banks will not hire them because they are not degree holders. And multinational companies will not hire them. Nobody really hires them. And if when they hire them, they never give them any promotion or any part to economic accession because they are OND holders. So just creating more technicians without a part in what you used with those young people, you are accelerating the problem that most of them will be frustrated in life. But if we change our tax code, where innocent motors, we say, hey, I want to train 3,000 young people on making cars and body parts and welding. If I am going to spend $2 million for that, I will spend it in a Navy. I'm not getting anything. But if I work with a polytechnic in, let's say, Federal Polytechnic in Owerri, I will get what they call a tax deductible. If I now have to file federal government tax, I deduct the $2 million I have worked with. There is an incentive that I will talk to Federal Polytechnic Owerri so that when I bring the 2 million, we train the young people I need, and I also get a tax incentive from when I'm filing tax. At the end of the day, I support the school, I get better by tax, and I help the society. Nigeria does not encourage that. And because Nigeria does not encourage that through our tax system, companies do not have any incentive of partnering with schools because there is really no benefit. They can say we can recreate our own school ourselves. Indomie Noodles has one of the best schools on fast-moving consumer goods. Dangote has a very big school. But if you give them incentive, they can say, okay, let me go to ABU's area, Bayero University, and now have a partnership so that if I'm spending $10 million on these trainings, at the end of the year, I can get $2 million back through tax incentive. So it goes beyond saying, let's create technical OND. Who wants to have an OND? Who wants to hold that? Nobody really wants that because there is no outlet for opportunity in Nigeria too. So that's why everyone is going for university so that at least you have the paper called degree, which can actually help you to at least apply for a job. But if we have a policy that can make it possible that people can build things, then those technicians will now become very, very key. And I still believe it has to go with a restructuring of our economic policy and our manufacturing policy. If we have some tax incentives, people will begin to actually look at how to tap into those opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Professor. There is Female Freelancers Network said, how can we support and restructure the Nigerian manufacturing into a system of production instead of involving international expertise to do the job more, as Nigerians have been involved as customers in the other country production? And how can our professional bodies, like the NSE, current, strengthen the system in Nigeria?
Yeah, that's a very great question, really, because I don't know if anyone is connecting from Scotland. There is Professor Ibrahim Ogu in University of Paisley. I think he's called the University of, is it West of Scotland now? And there is Professor Gebo from Tuskegee in Alabama. And there was a time I was in Rwanda to set up Carnegie Mellon University with my colleagues. We were setting up CMU. Professor Ogu was the rector of Kigali Institute of Technology. Professor Gebo was the person running the National University of Rwanda. So if you look at it, Nigerians were basically the people that were restructuring the tertiary educational system in Rwanda. But their citizens, or the Rwandans, they have this merit-based system, which I'll say is what is happening and what is helping them. And that their merit-based system is also based on, okay, if your idea is better, if your capability is better, you get a job or you go and do it. In Nigeria, our problem today is multifaceted. I'm not trying to make this thing look. Do you know that a minister asked in the Ministry of Works, people you should come to work before, is it 9 o'clock or 8:30? They demonstrated and told the minister, you cannot command us. So they felt that coming to work is late is their right. Can you imagine that? They told the minister, you can't come here and be bossing us. We will come when we want to come. And you know what? The minister had to change his mind though, because these people will kick him out of work. So how are you going to restructure such a system? And NSE has a role to play. Nigerian Society of Engineers is a highly respected organization. And one thing I have said is NSE has to find a way to bring a merit-based system back to Nigeria. When a merit-based system was enshrined in the way things were being done in Nigeria, the engineering practice in Nigeria was at its peak. You know, there was a time engineers fixed things in Nigeria. You know, just go back before the war, you know, radio stations, TV stations, Nigerian engineers were responsible. They did very great things. Nigeria Railway, and the merit-based system was purely in action. But at the time, we lost that. And then when you knew that, hey, no matter how good I am, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. You will not even pursue that self-pursuit of getting better. I think that is where we lost Nigeria. Until we can get back to that merit-based system, I don't think there is just anything you can do. I give you a very, very practical example. A young lady wrote to me a few months ago from University of Benin. She made a first class. She was to get this thing called, is it graduate assistantship? But they said she was not given that because she was not in the right tribe. She was in the wrong tribe. In other words, that job was kept for a specific tribe or ethnic group, and she was not from it. So if you see the bitterness in her writing, and I could also relate it back when I was in Futo. If the school had not said, Ndubuisi, as the best graduate student, this is your job. And I told him, I'm not interested. I pass over that opportunity. But if they have said, Ndubuisi, your clan in Igbo land is not the one we're looking for. We're looking for somebody from Owerri. You're from Abia State. How do you think I will forgive Futo or forgive the leadership? So these are the challenges that we are having today in the country. That we are no more competing at a national level. We are now competing at a local clan level, not even tribal. Because so NSE has to figure out a way to make it possible that these young people can compete to get better. Instead of people positioning themselves at, unfortunately, at tribal level. You know, OAIFE was trying to get a new VC. And the community said it has to come from them. Go to Nsukka, and Nsukka did the same thing, that the VC has to come from Nsukka. So that is the problem. It's not more about engineering. It's about having a merit-based system. And NSE, if there's anything you can do, that would help to actually change engineering. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. There is a hand from, forgive me if I do not know your salutation, sir. Rotimi Olabaye, Dallas, Texas.
Yes, yes.
Please ask your question, sir.
Oh, yeah, I have a little contribution and then a question. Thank you, Prof, for your wonderful presentation. You touched on so many things. I schooled here in the US and I have my first degree in electronics. So you can see why I was really going through what you're saying. And then a master's degree too in leadership and development. I left here and went to Nigeria to work for 34 years, 26 years in NNPC. I'm one of those that set up the local content. The way to go about it is we have to look at that direction, the local content. And what does it say? That you have to allow your people, Nigerians, to participate actively in the development. How do we go about this? What we need to do is to develop, build a capacity center where you can have the youth, where they develop their capacity in various fields. And all the professional bodies in Nigeria, they need to collaborate to do this. And then here, say for example, let me use furniture. I'm from Ondo State, we have wood. Why will Nigerians be importing furniture if you have more than enough? So if you decide to build capacity in this direction, say for Ondo State, you get to, if you align with some from companies in Italy, you know, these are the people that will come to the country and help to build this capacity in that center. You see, a good engineer is as good as is like a good architect. An architect, he designs a building, and that building you can replicate it in 1,000 ways. And when you are building that, and when you are developing that building, you're building it. How many engineers you need to do to take part in those buildings? Is that middle-level manpower? So that's what we should emphasize more. Because from experience here in the US, I know of somebody who does not have one in high school, but he went to so many training here, and he was able to build so many power stations, even nuclear station. When he was telling me, I couldn't believe it. You know, so we don't need too many engineers. We need good engineers, good professionals. These are the ones that will lead the rest. But we need to really build capacity in the middle-level manpower. And the way to go about it, we have to set up a knowledge and empowerment center where all the youths will start learning. You catch them young. When you're a graduate, there are so many things you don't want to do again. You feel you have learned too much. You feel the other thing that should do it. There's a friend of mine in UK there. He had a first degree, wanted to go for a second degree. It was an Uyinbo man that told him, he said, look, you think they will leave that job for Uyinbo and give it to you? Go and learn a trade. He went to learn a trade. Now he's making more money. You know, instead of looking for, we shouldn't emphasize too much on, you know, degrees and degree, because the level we are now is, we need to build capacity in middle-level manpower. That's the way to go about it. And I want us to find out how can we in the diaspora help in this direction, because we're all the same Nigeria and we need to build a nation. There's no nation that develops itself without the diaspora. Diaspora has a long road to play because they've seen it all, and they have, for example, now I'm here, I set up a company, oil and gas here. Any company in Nigeria that are looking for partnership, I could help. And I can do that because I'm here. If I'm not here, no amount of knowledge or whatever I have. Because from Nigeria, if you're looking for partners here, they don't trust us, they don't know you, but I'm here. I can go to the office, they can call me, you know, so that's it. That's just the little contribution I want to add.
Yeah, so I have a question there. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes.
Question is that you want to build for the middle manpower.
Yes.
Where are the opportunities? within that middle manpower. Because,
okay.
you know,
that's
the base
okay.
and the height.
You want me to? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. What are the opportunities?
Okay. Okay, for example, now, like I just gave the example of furniture. You don't need graduates to do furniture.
Yes.
If you have a school sat and you train him for 3 to 4 years or so, he will deliver a good furniture. Do you know the amount of money we're spending buying furniture from abroad? That's one way. In a Greek,
anyway, I think we can look at it from multiple angles. Yeah. Professor Chinua Achebe would not have been a professor in modern Nigeria because I'm understanding here he didn't have a PhD. And Wole Soyinka, they would not have promoted him to a professor because he didn't have PhD. So the issue there is you can look at middle manpower from the angle in the United States where we are, and you want to translate that to opportunities in Nigeria.
Yes.
If a typical graduate earns 57,000 naira in the federal civil service in Nigeria, this middle manpower we're talking about, maybe it could be minimum wage of 30,000 a month. Parents are a little bit smart to know how can my child graduate and the best he can earn is 30,000 a month. So the way I look at it is, it's not just saying in Germany, they have a lot of technicians. Because, hey, Germany, they have a very strong industrial base that they need a lot of technicians. And those jobs are actually good jobs. But in Nigeria, we don't have an industrial base that can actually provide competitive opportunities for brilliant young people. So do you think that a guy who made all A's in a secondary school would like to go and learn a trade where he will be making carpentry work or forestry work? Most likely they pay him 15,000 a month. That's why there are very good questions that we have to ask about Nigeria. Because I have a data. I look at my convocation lecture material from Futo a couple of years. More than 90% of the top graduating students are also all abroad. In that, more than 90 are all outside the country. Why are they leaving? Why did we leave? It's not that we don't know we cannot go and work in farm to help, or we cannot go and do a forestry. It's also a question of economic opportunity, which the smartest among the smarts are looking for the best. And if that middle does not offer that, out of patriotism, they won't do it. So that is why it's not working. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Okay. Okay, you see, if you, I try to say it that what you need, you don't need, I'm not saying people should not go to abroad or they should not go to the university, but I'm saying what we need to emphasize more is that middle level manpower. Let me take, for example, if you're building an hotel, how many degree holders will you employ to work with you in that hotel? Maybe 1 or 2. The rest are going to be technicians, electricians, painters, and all that. These are the people that you need. You know, all those school start holders and all that, if they are well trained, they will not be earning what you are saying they should be. Well, I mean, what the government is giving them. They don't have to work for government. They work for individuals. They work for corporations. So what I said is that the people in diaspora will have a big role to play here because they can easily talk to some companies to set up in Nigeria. But if you are setting up in Nigeria, they need people to work with. Like, for example, presently I'm working with the Liberian government. I want to help them set up local content. But what I told them is that, look, setting up local content, you have oil and gas. You will not maximize the value unless you have built capacity. So, and I said, the first thing I need to do is to build a to help them set up a learning and development center where they learn all various skills. Because if any company wants to set up in Liberia, they're looking for technical people that can do one or two things. They are not going to be looking for too many graduates. Because from my example, having be part of those that set up the local content in Nigeria, and we visit all those oil companies. So many of those oil companies, many of them are not graduates, but because they've been trained and they have worked in so many places. Let me give you an example. In an electronics company here in the US, we have so many non-graduates there. But somebody with a PhD that has no exposure experience, if he goes there, it's that person that will teach him so many things. Because seeing is believing. It's a practical thing. So what I'm saying is that the professional bodies should collaborate and set up development center where capacity can be built. You know, if you have your knowledge of, very well, you don't need to work for government. You don't need to. People need things to be done in the home. So painting and all that.
Can you round up, sir? Sir, can you please round up?
Okay, so that's what I'm just saying. That I'm not saying people should not go to university. Because here in the US, how many graduates? Nigerians have more graduates than average white by 3 times.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Just one more question, and then there was yes, there is friction. Yes, frictions needs capabilities to solve Nigerian problems, but these Engineer Monsoru Adeleye is asking, how can we build capabilities without addressing lack of sincerity and truthfulness, without addressing corruption, without collaboration, without providing funds for innovation? And then lastly, without punishment of powerful people in Nigeria. Professor.
Yes, thank you so much. I'll begin by saying that in the private sector, actually, I own a Tequila Capital. We invest in many startups, have more than 100 companies we invested. Things really work the way you expect things to work. You have these extremely brilliant young people, you give them $100,000, before you know it, you go and raise $1 million, $2 million from Americans, Europeans. But when you now start bringing the government components, that's where things begin to be a little difficult. So I would say here, if it's possible, try to start and do things outside the space where the government is leading. And if you do that, Nigeria's private sector is actually not bad. It's actually very, very dynamic. The only challenge we have is our impacts are not reaching our rural communities. And we just, until we get to the rural communities, of course, we'll leave a lot of our citizens behind. But private sector focused, you can actually get most of the things you want. And I think that system works really very, very well. And just to also point here that when we are looking at Nigeria's case, there is the TSMC, which is a company that makes integrated circuits, one of the largest in the world in Taiwan. The US government gave it billions of dollars of credit to come and set up a plant in America. It advertised for a job, it couldn't find people. So because it couldn't find people in the United States with the skill, they had to delay it to 2025. So the point here is this, human systems are just unique. A typical American kid who can maybe go to McDonald's and flip burger, and now you now say there is this company coming from Taiwan, it's going to pay, which might even be a better paying job. But they just look at it, oh, I have to be in a clean room. At the end of the day, TSMC could not start this project on time. It has to delay it by more than 3 years because you can't find workers. That's also the same thing that we have in Nigeria to a large extent. We, of course, have to train the middle management, just like one of our members noted here. That's part. But I'm also saying that a critical part that will enable that process is how do we create a pipeline of opportunity so that the motivated and the brilliant young people will actually be excited about that. There is this school called Petroleum Training Institute, Warri. About maybe 15 years, before 15 years ago, I would say, maybe 10 years ago, if you should get into PTI, not the university, not the Petroleum University, EFRU, you are sure that by the time you are finishing from PTI, either Shell, an NPC will hire you. So PTI was like opportunity to get into the oil and gas at a very great level. I don't know about it today. So it served the upstream oil and gas with technicians and lower level technical manpower. Of course, we can have all those things across different sectors. But the reason why PTI was super attractive to very brilliant secondary school kids was because by the time you get into PTI, you are going into the oil sector, you're going to make a lot of money. But if you set up one for, like, so forestry, and when people are coming out, they don't see a path into that, that becomes a challenge. So if we want to do that, it has to be end-to-end, fully integrated, so that when people are making those decisions, they're fine. So if you say, I want to set up a school to train people for fintech, there are many schools like that. And all this Sandela and Co., you could earn close to $7,000 if you're working for Andela and you're living in Lagos. You could, in short, some of them earn up to more than $10,000. They're living in Lagos. So those opportunities exist. And the brilliant and the best among these young people go for them because they know that there is an outlet where they can have an opportunity when they have acquired those skills. So we have to make sure that those skills are available. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Professor. And can I use the opportunity to thank everybody who has made it possible to join us today, and also to thank the professor for his time. That's the much questions we can take for today. I will be going back to the branch chairman and then to please give the vote of thanks. But just shortly before that, can I invite everybody here to our next month's technical session, which is going to be very useful, more especially if you are intending to move to the UK or you've been around and you're trying to find your way. So we're going to have a session where we bring in experts, lawyers, immigration lawyers, estates agents and professionals, professors, and all different sets of people that you can ask your questions directly, including medical doctors, or you're trying to move to the UK and, for health, holiday. So you could please ask them your questions. So please circulate these because it's going to be very helpful having this set of professionals by the end of last Friday of November. Please join us 5 p.m. the UK time. Engineer Patrick Obidoye, the branch chairman, please, the floor is yours.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much, Professor Ndubuisi Ekekwe, for that fantastic presentation. And thank you so much, Dr. Kevin Arno, for brilliantly anchoring the session. Before I call on the Publicity Secretary, Dr. Ibrahim Sanusi, for the official vote of thanks to our guest speaker, I want to just quickly recognize a few people who are here today. One of them has actually spoken, and in fact, he's been able to give us some insight as well. And that's Engineer Rotimi Olagbaye, who happens to be my mentor and one of those who actually gave me the very first opportunity in NNPC during my internship in IDSL, that's Integrated Data Services Limited in Benin, a part of NNPC. Thank you very much, sir. I know you've spoken already, so it's just to acknowledge that and to thank you for the support you gave me those many years ago, and also for remaining a very big brother. And thank you so much, sir. I also want to quickly recognize Engineer Silvanus Adria, Engineer Anthony Okonkwo, and Engineer Bruno Irebu. In fact, a lot of these are invited just this afternoon, and I'm so glad they were able to turn up. I would want to give I know we've got Engineer Kashim Ali here. I've introduced him earlier as well. I know he's also posted answers to some of the questions on the platform. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. So yeah, I would want our patron, Engineer Ademola Olorunfemi, and also a past president of Nigeria Society of Engineers to quickly, I can see his hand is up, but even if his hand is not up, I think we would have called you to say something, sir. Go ahead, sir. You have the floor, sir.
Yeah, thank you, my chairman. Congratulations again. I'm so proud of you. I'd like to greet everyone. My past president, Koren, and NSE, my good brother, Kashim Ali. I saw him. I'm actually in Ileluji with the president of Koren, NSE, for the burial of Olaolu Ogunjile, the vice chairman of Koren. More that we just left the noisy. I'm happy I've been listening. I've been on, but I couldn't listen. Unfortunately, I didn't hold my earpiece, but I followed the chat. I think it's a good one. I'm sure we will get the presentation at a point. After I posted, I saw 106 participants. That was awesome. Please keep it up. Keep it up. I congratulate the chairman and the Great Montesa branch for the giant strides. For the guest speaker, I'm sure we'll get to speak at some point. Well done. We're very proud of you. And I'm happy we're looking back home to see how we can make Nigeria better. There's very big hope in Nigeria. So let's keep the hope alive. Thank you, everyone. It's a great pleasure.
Thank you very much, sir. I think before I call on Engineer Kashim Ali just to say a few words, I want to use this opportunity to also congratulate Professor Ndubuisi Ekekwe. I saw on his tweet today with regards to Tekidia Capital Portfolio Company launching cardless withdrawal technology. So I know you didn't mention that during this presentation, but congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. So I think I would want to advise, everyone, Engineer Professor Ndubuisi Ekekwe speaks on a lot of matters bordering on nation building. And I think it would be very great if our engineers can also engage him in that discourse, because we all need to work together. We need to collaborate to make Nigeria great. Engineer Kashim Ali, are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'd like to thank you for even inviting us, but more so for inviting me to attend Ndubuisi Ekekwe's lecture. I wasn't lucky to be in Kuto when he came. I had left before he came in, so I didn't get to meet him. I met him much later in Lagos when he had to make a presentation. And since then, I've found him a very wonderful person. So when I saw him coming, I said, oh, it's kind of you to invite me to a program at which he will speak. Now, he has spoken about a lot of things. I'm not going to go over them. There have been references, but he's highly resourceful. So I just want to appeal to all of us who have participated to go back again and think through what I said. There are a lot of takeaways, and if we continue to take these type of things, I'm sure our country can be great. Our country has all it takes to be great. We have a few misunderstandings, the communication problem, cultural issues that we do not even understand. We just need to understand them and convert those things we think are negatives to positives. That way our country can be great. There's no country where there is unanimity of opinion. There are all differences, but people prefer to look at the strength of the next neighbor. Let's begin to look at the strength of our neighbors, not their weaknesses. That way we can be great. But I'd like to congratulate Manchester Brand, congratulate Video for inviting us, and thank you very much for the opportunity to also speak.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much, Engineer Kashim Ali. All right, so I want to call on. Oh yeah, I think one more thing I want to quickly mention. I know during the course of discussion, Engineer Rotimi Olagbaye did mention about some centers for capacity building, and I'm very pleased to mention that I did mention that at the beginning during my opening remarks, that the NSE has got a smart innovation hub. These are centers where some of those commercialization of projects could take place. So for those who have not heard about it, I think it's an opportunity to actually take a look at some of the opportunities this might pose, not just for engineers, but for non-engineers, and also for those in within the technical space. The Smart Innovation Hub, I believe, won't be only for engineers. We should welcome all who are interested in contributing to nation building and who are innovators as well. As we know, some of the great innovators have not gone through the university, and there are some great brains in Nigeria as well. So I think we should collaborate to make such center accessible and a melting point for all those who are interested in nation building. Thank you so much, everyone. I would want to call on Dr. Ibrahim Sanusi, our Publicity Secretary, to give the vote of thanks on behalf of NSE Manchester branch. Thank you once again, Prof.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, has he dropped off? Dr. Habila, can you do us the honor, please, to give the vote of thanks? I can't see Dr.
Yeah, so on behalf of the branch, NSE Manchester branch, we want to sincerely appreciate our guest speaker, who has not only done justice to the topic, but he has actually brought about some critical thoughts and different line of reasoning on how we could take advantage of the friction and with the capabilities around to move from invention to innovation. And not only that, we can also move from that to the application domain. So we are quite very grateful to the speaker who has made out time to come and share his wealth of knowledge and experience, not only to the branch, but as many that have been joined the meeting from different parts of the world. I also want to thank members who have made out time to join this meeting. At some point, I could see our number was around 105, if not even more than that. That shows that people have been so much interested, not only in the topic, but with the caliber of the speaker. And we also want to thank the technical committee for pulling the heavyweights to the branch. And we want to request that members should also encourage other people to join, not only members of our branch, so that these moments of knowledge sharing can also spread across the breadth and length of Nigeria. So on behalf of the branch, once more, we want to thank you, Professor, for doing justice to the topic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, gentlemen and ladies, right here for a village boy to receive this. Thank you, and do have a wonderful afternoon, evening. Thank you. Stay blessed. Thank you. Please, next time I'm always here. All of us are engineers. Let's engineer for the nation and a beautiful continent. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Prof. And I think one more thing I need to mention is that a certificate of appreciation would follow from NSE Manchester branch through Dr. Kevin Arno, our technical secretary. Thank you so much,
Prof.
Thank you.
And let me also thank Engineer Cashier. You know, I think he's really an engineer politician. No? Mr. President, I hope you've not left us here. We want to thank you so much for your service to Nigeria. You know, during the time of President Jonathan, and you know, he said something nice about you in a meeting in New York. You know, say I went to see him. He said, "Oh, are you an engineer like Dr. Engineer Kasim?" I said, "I'm not sure, but I'm an engineering graduate." So thank you so much, sir, for your service to our beautiful country. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you. Okay, yeah, I think that was a great one. We'll just quickly, because we've had to do things slightly differently today because of the distinguished guest speaker we have. There are a few people who have recently joined NSE Manchester branch. If they are here, I would want to give them the opportunity just to introduce themselves and just for us to get to meet them. I think this is something we'll be doing now. Engineer Adele Adeyemi, I don't know if you could just call on them to introduce themselves. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot, but I think one of them is Engineer Nelly. I don't know if she's here. I'll just look through. We'll just get some of those new members of NSE Manchester branch to get to speak for a few minutes, just to introduce themselves to us. Or if you are here, you can raise up your hand if you've recently joined NSE Manchester branch and we've not met you. You can just raise up your hand and we'll call you to quickly introduce yourself. Engineer Oluwakayode Aregbesola, I know your hand has been up, so yes, let's give you a moment to quickly say what you have to say. Thank you.
Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for the presentation and the opportunity. My name is Engineer Oluwakayode Aregbesola. I'm based in Manchester now. I was previously with an NSE Outer branch, you know, as a pioneer member through to the time I left Nigeria. I'm an agric and biosystem engineer as a background, and here now I'm also a project manager, a scrum master, and I'm also working in the United Kingdom in Manchester. So I'm glad to be a member now with NSE Manchester. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Engineer Oluwakayode Aregbesola. So I'm just posting membership secretary on the chat. So I know some people have asked me that question privately. So I've just posted the phone number of Engineer Adele Adeyemi, the membership secretary. So for those interested in joining NSE Manchester branch, you can get in touch with him or with our assistant membership secretary, Dr. Lillian. I will just post her number there as well. So Dr. Lillian Ihokumere Esotu is our assistant membership secretary, and I will just quickly drop her number there as well. So for those wondering, Engineer Adeleye's number is a German number because it's based in Germany. We've got members outside of the UK. So if you live in the north of England, in the Midlands, then you can be a member of NSE Manchester branch. So that's the way NSE is structured. They are named after cities. So, and that's why it has continued that way. So at some point, if we have close to 100 engineers in Newcastle and they want to form a branch, then that becomes an offshoot of NSE Manchester branch. So if you look at the way NSE is structured, generally, they are town-based. So for example, at a time, NSE by the branch was covering quite a lot of the west of Nigeria, for example, as the premier branch. So yes, so that's the way it works. So if you are in London or south of UK, then geographically you belong to NSE London branch. If you're in Scotland, there is just NSE Glasgow there. So whether you are based in Aberdeen or wherever, that's NSE Glasgow branch, which looks after members in Scotland. And if you're elsewhere, then you can join NSE Manchester branch. Yeah. So, and yes, you can also follow us on our YouTube channel, as well as on Twitter, on the WhatsApp. We have a WhatsApp platform where we disseminate information about what's happening. So you can join us. Yes. So do we have other members who have Engineer Adeyemi, you might need to give me some help here. So if you can call on some of the, yes, please. Thank you.
We have recently Engineer Ajishebutu Oluwatoyin that recently filled our membership form, and I can as well see her online. So can you please quickly introduce yourself, Engineer Ajishebutu Oluwatoyin?
Good evening, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me very well.
Yes, we can.
We can hear you, but we can't see you, and we would love to see you.
Because, oh, you have to see me, really. Really, I'm on my way to church. So,
okay.
And then, yeah, you understand. So, and this place is quite dark, so you might not really see me very well. Well,
Thank you.
presently
Thank you.
stay
We can
in
still
London.
see you. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, okay, good. I stay in London. I came in last year. I was with Abeokuta branch. You understand? And I still stay in London. You know, basically electronics and computer engineering. And presently I'm a student of University of Hertfordshire, and I've just finished. So I just saw this advert in my mail and I decided to join. That's it.
Thank you so
Hello,
much.
can you hear me?
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
we heard you loud and clear. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have recently had the past president of APWEN in Nigeria. That is Engineer Mrs. Alagbe. I don't think she's online, but if you are online, you can as well introduce yourself, Ma. And we also had recently Engineer Stanilos Tochukwu. And of recent today, we had Engineer Emmanuel Douglas joining us as well. But I think if they are not online, we could as well give Engineer Shegun Ogunfowora. You raise up your hand, please. Can you please mute yourself and then go ahead to introduce yourself.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Engineer Oluwasegun Ogunfowora. I'm a member of the Nigeria Society of Engineers, VI branch, but I'm currently in Manchester now. I'm currently studying project management at the university, MSc project management at the University of Suffolk. And I'm happy to be here to join my people here, and I'm very blessed with today's presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Engineer Ogunfowora. You're welcome to Manchester. I hope you have been able to save my number. Please try to reach out to me so that we can share our membership form with you. The reason why we don't want to be sharing our membership form here on the platform is to be able to coordinate our database, and not that everybody, because we know we have visitors, we have friends that comes online for our technical sessions, and so that our database will not be like kind of a mix up. So reach out to me so that we can get your bio data, and then also we can also add you to our WhatsApp group where we do normally have our information shared, and then you can also follow
I think
events.
I've done that. I've done that. I received mail and everything with you.
Okay. So are you in the WhatsApp group already?
Yes.
Okay. You are welcome.
Yeah, I'm not in the WhatsApp group yet.
If you have filled the form, and the number you've used while we're filling the form, it's also important. If it is not a WhatsApp active number, a lot of us are moving from Nigeria to UK, and then we have two numbers, UK, Nigeria number. If it is not a WhatsApp active number, I will not be able to add you to the WhatsApp group. So make sure it is we fill the form with a WhatsApp active number, and then if not, you can as well write me on the number that has been shared in the chat box.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Over to you, Chairman. You can go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Engineer Adeleye Adeyemi, our membership secretary. I believe there's someone called Engineer Ikimoye Emmanuel. I don't know if he's on. I think he was one of the new members added. If you're on, you can raise up your hand and we'll quickly allow you to introduce yourself. We also have Engineer Nelly Aneke. I believe she's a new member as well. If you're on, kindly signify. I know she did mention she'll be here today, but I've not, I know some people might join with a different name. Okay, so if you're not here, all right, so Engineer, I'll go forward. I know you've spoken. I believe is that a legacy hand or a new hand? So, but you can always, okay, Engineer Chidi Oba.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening. Yes, we can see you and hear you. You have the floor.
Okay. I'm Engineer Chidi Emmanuel Oba, current registered civil engineer, NSE member Enugu branch. Currently moving to UK January this year. Currently a student, project management student of University of Sunderland in London campus. It was a great opportunity for me today. Yesterday, actually, when I got a mail for this section, and I had to just set up my calendar that I have to be this section, because I know it's going to avail me the opportunity of meeting great people like this. And honestly speaking, this section has been very impactful. And this is a very great opportunity I feel will really help me to reconnect to a professional body from back home down here in the UK. So hopefully I'm going to reach out. I've already saved the number and email, so I'll reach out for registration and also follow up from there. Currently, I'm based at the St. Auburn City, Hertfordshire. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Engineer Chidi Oba. I believe we can also send you the number of Engineer Chinedu Ahiazu, who happens to be the NSE London branch chairman, because geographically you are positioned in London branch. But you are very much welcome to always join our programs. We won't discriminate against anyone who is, we're all one family, the NSE family, yes. So, but geographically you are located in London branch, and we'll be happy to share the number of the NSE London branch chairman with you. But you're almost always welcome to join our program. And we also do same to other UK branches. Thank you so much. Welcome to the UK.
Thank you so much. Sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Engineer Ade Toyese Olabode, you have the floor, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah,
My
good
name
evening.
is Engineer Adetoye Olabode. I'm a registered member. I'm a member of NSE Abuja branch. I came into UK last year. Actually, my wife's name appeared before Olamipo Olabode. She's also an engineer. So I had to change it quickly when I saw people. She just graduated from University of Hertfordshire. We are based in Doncaster. I'm an engineer, mechanical engineer by profession, while my wife is chemical engineer.
All right, you're most welcome. Doncaster is in the north of England, so you belong very well to this branch.
Yeah,
So
yes, I'll be glad to join the branch. I heard about the WhatsApp group and also the forum. I would like to definitely be a part.
yes, so reach out to our membership secretary. The number is on the platform. So we've got Engineer Adeleye Adeyemi, the membership secretary. We also have Dr. Lillian Iheokumere Esotu, the assistant membership secretary. You can reach out to any of the two.
Yes, I can't find their number. I've been trying to look at their number. Is it they are using? Engineer Adeyemi, please, are you using phone so that I can pick your number from there?
Okay, he has just posted it. Yeah, so it's a German number. Yes, you can reach him on WhatsApp.
Okay, yes, I remember you said something like German. Yes.
Yes, I know it might be a bit confusing when we're talking about Manchester branch and people are seeing German branch, especially German number, especially in these days of security concerns, you know. So that's why we want to quickly mention that. Yeah, so I think it's come up to a minute to 7. We normally try to finish our meetings at 7 p.m. Normally, the technical session should be much shorter, but we felt today's guest lecturer was a very important one, and it would be good to, and it was exciting as well. So everyone would be interested in listening for much longer. Hence the reason why we had to reshape our program. So thank you so much, all. It's 7 p.m. now. I want to wish you all a great weekend. So next month, the timing for those in Nigeria will be slightly different because 5 p.m. UK time would be, I believe, 6 p.m. in Nigeria. So please take note of that if you are joining next month. It's always the last Friday of every month, 5 p.m. UK time. So thank you all and have a great weekend. God bless.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ataria, our Vice Chairman. Thank you so much.